Good morning. It's Monday morning, which means it's time for another episode of Brunansky's Vlog. Thanks for stopping by. Now, if you're returning, we appreciate you coming back, but if you're a first-time visitor, make sure you click that subscribe button, because every Monday on this channel, we bring you movie news, movie reviews, and a little bit more. And we want to make sure that you don't miss any of the updates going forward. This is episode 11, so we've been doing this now for 10 weeks, and we hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. Make sure that if you are enjoying it, you're giving that thumbs up, and then you're contributing to the conversations below in the comments section. That's where you can sound off and share your opinions, or even some of your own movie reviews for movies that you've seen either on Netflix or in the theater. Alright, I don't want to waste much more time on this introduction, but I do want to make sure to mention that the Certified Rad segment at the end of the show is pretty inspiring, so I hope you guys stick around to catch that. And then immediately after that, we have an honorable mention for an extra Certified Rad, which I thought was pretty fantastical. So be sure to catch that. I'm going to go ahead and end my talking now so we can get you guys into the show. And we'll jump right into the news. So thanks so much. Give us that thumbs up if you like it. Make sure to click subscribe. And let's go ahead and cut now to the news. In the news, Patty Jenkins is confirmed as director for the Wonder Woman sequel, and they've added writer Dave Callahan to help pen the script. With this news, Patty is officially the highest paid female filmmaker in history. Well, congratulations to Patty Jenkins, because that's phenomenal news for you, for your family, for everything that is kind of involved in your life, to actually break that milestone. Great work there. I think it's deserved because Wonder Woman is a fantastic film. It's definitely in my top 10 for the year. And it might actually break the top 10 for my favorite superhero films, quote unquote, of all time. It's just a really well done story. The characters are great. Gal Gadot is perfect as Wonder Woman, in my opinion. So I was really pleased to see that the studios are ponying up the dough to actually make this work so she can come back and direct it. The rumor mill right now, from what I've seen online, is she's getting somewhere around the ballpark of like $8 million to direct, which is cool. But more importantly, she's getting money on the back end as well. So she's going to get some points back there on the take for whatever it makes in theaters. So with the mad money, the millions upon hundreds of millions of dollars that Wonder Woman made worldwide, this is great news for Patty Jenkins. So as long as Wonder Woman 2 delivers, I think she's going to be sitting pretty for a while, and she'll have, with this, not just a ton of money, but with this type of money, it allows her the freedom to kind of pick and choose what projects she wants to work on going forward, because with that money, she now has the financial freedom to look at things and go, okay, financially, I think I'm okay for a while. So what are some of my passion projects that I've always wanted to do but couldn't get the funding for? So I think it'll be great for her. I think it's going to be great for us as movie lovers, because we're hopefully going to get a great Wonder Woman 2. I believe we will. But it's great for Patty Jenkins because now she's going to have all that dough and she can actually sit back and go, well, what's a story that I really, really want to tell for a long time that I haven't been able to? And I think now, with the success of Wonder Woman and the hopeful success of Wonder Woman 2, she'll have that, and then she'll be able to deliver something to us that is fresh and just brand new from her eyes and from how she sees the world. And I think that could be pretty cool. I don't know if she's got these projects. I'm sure she does. She's a creative. Creatives, you know, we always have these ideas of things we'd like to do, but we might not have, you know, the means or something to get around to completing those tasks. So hopefully this works out for her, and she can start delivering to us fresh news stories that she's come up with, that she's passionate about, along with delivering great films like Wonder Woman and the sequel to Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman 2. Now, as far as Dave Callahan coming in, he did The Expendables 1, 2, and 3. And he was the writer for that. So, honestly, I don't know what to expect from that news. Now, I love the Expendables movies. These are just great popcorn action flicks that bring me back to my childhood in the 80s, just watching action movies going, stuff's blowing up, this is awesome. However, I will say that the writing in the Expendables films is the weakest part, because it's not really centered on the dialogue and the conversations as much as it is knowing that these people have a relationship as like expendable ex-military folks that can go into these dangerous situations, similar to like the Suicide Squad. And, you know, if they die, they die. If they don't, they save the world. But the premise of these films is usually pretty thin. The plot is thin. Like, the dialogue isn't great. The story, the action, like, it's usually fun. But I would say the writing is kind of on the lower end of the enjoyment scale for me. Like, the dialogue is very kind of bop, 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 bop. It's not conversational. It's just kind of like they're talking at each other. They're not talking with each other. And we'll get to that a little bit more in the movie review segment, because I had that complaint about a film that I saw this weekend. So we'll cover that there again. But yeah, I look at the situation and I go, okay, cool. I'm super happy that Patty Jenkins is coming back. I just want to hear who's going to be coming in to punch up the dialogue and who's going to script doctor this for us to make sure that while Dave delivers us a great action story, there's going to be someone who's also going to come in to complement what I think is an area of opportunity with dialogue and character building. So he can create the story and the action, but who's going to be that script doctor, quote unquote, to come in and kind of punch up the relationships, the dialogue, like the heart of the story. J.J. Abrams is confirmed as the director for Star Wars Episode 9 and is currently working on the 4th version of the script with Chris Terrio. The film's release has been pushed from the summer of 2019 to December of 2019. So this is great news for us as Star Wars fans, because that means we're continuing the tradition of Star Wars Christmas. Not a Star Wars Christmas special, but Star Wars at Christmas time. And that's always fun, because, you know, you're already in a good mood because it's the Christmas season, it's the holidays, you know, people are planning trips. It's that really important time of year where everyone's thinking about each other and like everyone's trying to do nice things for each other, like family, friends, even strangers. So everyone's generally in a pretty good mood. There's a lot of stress in the holidays, but we got a movie like Star Wars coming out now to where we can be like, this is great. We don't have to, it's not going to be mixed in with the summer blockbusters. It's going to hold that December place, which I'm pretty happy about. Now, as far as Chris Terrio coming in to write it, I don't know. I haven't seen Justice League yet. I want to see what he does with Justice League, because he was part of the writing team for that, and they brought in Joss Whedon to help fix a lot of things. So much so that now Joss Whedon is getting writer's credit, as we've talked about before on this show in previous episodes. So with JJ coming back, I'm excited, because when he did The Force Awakens, I enjoyed it. I know that people were like, well, it's just a rehash. Just haters everywhere. Whatever. The film was good. The characters were good. Rey's theme was fantastic. Anytime that comes on my iTunes playlist, it just puts me back in that moment when I first heard it in the movie. And I was like, man, this is a great song. There's a lot of really positive things that came out of The Force Awakens, and we have J.J. Abrams to thank for that. So the fact that he's coming back to do Episode 9, I like that. I know there's some people who they've got some reservations. They're a little hesitant, maybe has some trepidation about the whole thing. Whatever you want to call it, I'm excited that he's coming back, because I'd like to see how he wants to finish this off. Now, after he did The Force Awakens, he mentioned that he would like to kind of join back into the Star Wars world to kind of finish telling the story at some point. But he was happy to hand it off to Rian Johnson for Episode 8. So I think it's going to be a good thing that he's coming back. I would like to see how he finishes this story and how he wraps up and ties in everything. But again, with Chris Terrio, I don't really know how I feel, because I haven't seen Justice League, and I don't know how much of Justice League was his writing versus, you know, what Joss Whedon is punching up now. So much so, again, that he's getting writer's credit. So I just look at the situation and I go, okay, I'm 50-50 on it, right? I'm 50% happy JJ's coming back, and 50% kind of, that we may or may not get, you know, something awesome because of, you know, what has happened on Justice League. Now, Justice League, I could be completely wrong. Maybe Chris Terrio's portion of the writing on that script was great, and Joss Whedon is just punching up everything else. But I don't know. I haven't. Justice League hasn't come out yet. You know, it comes out in November, so we'll have to wait and see for that. So I'm happy on one hand, JJ's coming back. On the other hand, I'm just like, well, we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens with Justice League. But in general, as far as just the news of him coming back, I think that's great. Also, I like the fact that they pushed it back, so they're giving themselves time. They got some room to breathe, to really craft this story. Like we just heard on the notes, this is the 4th version of the script. So I'm happy that they've pushed it back, and I think you should be happy too, because that tells us that they don't want to rush it. They want to make sure everything is fleshed out, the characters are fully developed, that the story arc is going to resolve itself in a way that makes sense and kind of delivers and makes everybody happy. Even if it delivers in a way that makes you kind of go, wow, I didn't expect that. At least we'll walk out of the theater going, still a great film. They surprised me with a fantastic ending. Really happy overall. Like that's what I'm hoping with this extra time that we're going to get for them to write the story and create the story and then film everything and edit CGI, etc. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. I think you should be. If you're happy about J.J. Abrams coming back, you're right there with me. If you're not, go ahead and throw some comments below and share why you think that this is a bad, or not necessarily bad, but just questionable. And then also throw in who you would have liked to see direct. Don't just come in and complain for the sake of complaining. Come in and say, look, I don't like it. This is why, and this is who I think should have done the job. And start that conversation down below. Let's get it going, and let's move on to the next topic. Blumhouse announced that we're getting another Halloween movie in October of 2019. Jamie Lee Curtis will be returning to the franchise. I feel like this is more nostalgia than anything else. With all of these, with Star Wars doing well, with the fact that you have Stranger Things coming out, a second season, and the first season did gangbusters as far as their critical and audience response. I feel like there's just this thing that's going on where everybody, myself included, really wants to go back to the 80s because the 80s were awesome. If you're telling me Mike Myers is going to be in a movie, I don't expect that it's the crazy Halloween killer. Like I think Mike Myers, Wayne's World, everything else. Like, even though like he really did like a number with The Love Guru and he hasn't recovered from that, from what it seems as far as comedy goes. You tell me Mike Myers is in a movie, I automatically think Canadian comedian Mike Myers. I don't ever assume that it's the crazy Halloween killer. So I don't know. Like I get that a lot of people are excited. This is important news because Blumhouse, as we've discussed before on this show, they do a really good job taking these films that have lower budgets and delivering a great product. And they specialize in the horror genre. So this is really just falling right into the wheelhouse of what they can do with a film and what they're talented and what they excel at. So I think it's a good news for horror fans. Even though myself, I'm not a horror fan. I don't really get horror movies. Like I don't understand the concepts of why people would want to be scared. It just doesn't, I don't get it. But I get that there's people who like this stuff. Like I've dated girls who love horror movies, and I've always told them, that's great. You probably want to have a girls' night, and all of you girls go and see those horror movies, and I'm going to go, watch a comedy or go to the bar or something like that, and then just call me when you're done. But I get that people get excited about these movies and these franchises, so that's why I wanted to talk about it, because while I don't understand it, maybe you can explain it to me in the comments section and just share what's so great about the Halloween franchise and like why you like this story and what's great about, this villain, what makes him so memorable. Like he's part of that whole movement, right? Where you had the Halloween movies, you had the Jason movies, you had the Freddy Krueger movies, like you had all of these like still popular today villains that I've always just kind of looked at and gone, okay, I understand the Freddy Krueger one because that's like in your dreams. And so when you go to bed, you think you're safe, but then like something can kill you in your dreams. That's terrifying. So I get that concept for a villain, but just throw in the comments below, like what makes Mike Myers, the Halloween villain, like so great? Like what is it about his character that's just like, this is terrifying. This is what makes a great horror film. And just explain it to me and just give me some more background, because maybe I'm missing something, because I feel like I am as far as like the franchise goes. And if you're excited about this news, throw that in the comments below too and be like, yeah, I can't wait to see Jamie Lee Curtis in this Halloween anniversary film that Blumhouse is going to be doing. So if you're a horror fan, I think this is great news, and I'm happy that you're happy. So just share why you're happy and, kind of give me some more details as to why you like this villain and why this franchise has lived on as long as it has. And just kind of help me understand, because I guarantee you, since I don't understand, there's got to be other people who don't understand. So maybe you can bridge that divide and get everybody on the same page in the comment section below. Lord and Miller are back and writing the sequel to Lego Movie, Lego Movie 2. They stated this film will explore the topic of gender differences. So it sounds pretty straightforward, but I don't really understand what they mean. And let me explain. The psychological philosopher writer side of me goes, there's a lot of differences. What specifically are we talking about here? And what age are we talking about those differences, right? I heard that news and it sent my brain into this vortex of questions, and I was just like, what do they mean? So I don't get it. Lord and Miller are really great with writing comedy and stuff like that, and getting to themes and carrying those themes through. But I didn't understand if you look at different topics in society, you have the differences that we hear about on the news where the women are voicing their opinions about the pay scales and wanting to be paid the same as men for doing the same jobs. That's a difference. Is that what we're talking about with this movie? Are we going further back to something like Kids on the Playground, where you would see the girls all hanging out and the girls are picking on each other, but then you see the boys hanging out and the boys are beating each other up and they're dodgeball and everything else. There's those two, the emotional side versus the physical side. You have books like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which is a great book, by the way. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend you check that out. And that explores the differences between men and women. You have books like Modern Man's Search for a Soul by Carl Jung, which I'm reading right now, which is great. But it explains a lot, and that even digs into some of the physical differences chemically between men and women. So what testosterone versus estrogen, and how men, as they get older, once the testosterone starts to drop in production, and women with the estrogen, and so you start seeing the men and women complement each other again, because they're starting to pick up the traits of the other side because of what their body's naturally doing. There's just so many differences that this could mean. I read this news and I was like, oh cool, Lord and Miller are coming back, and then I read that bit about, and they're going to explore the differences in gender, and my brain blew up. It was as you just witnessed. I don't know what that means. Just tell me what it means. What specific area are we talking about with differences, so that I can kind of go, okay, that's what they're talking about. This is what the movie's probably going to be about then. And then I can get excited for it, as opposed to just sitting here going, well, I have no idea what that means. That could mean anything. That could be any number of age groups. What does that mean? So yeah, I'm looking forward to more information so I can calm down and not sit here in a giant stress bucket trying to figure out what they're talking about when they say gender differences, because that is a very vague and all over the place statement that makes me go, well, that could pretty much be from birth to death. Let's narrow it down, Lord and Miller. And I'm looking forward to future press releases that do exactly that. Narrow it down so that we know, okay, this is what Lego Movie 2 is going to be about. And then we can all get excited, because Lego Movie was really good and really funny. Honorable mentions this week include Hellboy the Movie on Twitter dropped the first look as David Harbour as Hellboy. Shape of Water, Coco, 50 Shades Freed, The Disaster Artist, Red Sparrow, and All the Money in the World dropped brand new trailers this week. Stan Lee says Leonardo DiCaprio would like to play him in a movie. Spike Lee and Jordan Peele are working on a thriller entitled The Black Klansman. John Wick 3 gets a release date scheduled for the summer of 2019. All right, and that wraps it up for the news. If I missed anything, as always, there's so much news that happens throughout the course of the week, we can't get to everything in one show. So sound off below and share some news stories that you thought that were pretty exciting that maybe we didn't get to. If we covered anything that you particularly enjoyed or disagreed with, again, sound off below. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. We're going to go ahead and move now into the next segment for movie reviews. So let's go ahead and cut to that right now. Terrorists attack a beach paradise while everyone is enjoying their holiday. Most of the people on this beach don't survive, but one does. And he decides he's going to go after all of these terrorists by himself in a revenge mission for killing his fiancée. So, Does American Assassin live up to the action promised in the trailers, or should we black bag this operation? Let's go ahead and take a look in this review for American Assassin. So the trailer does a really good job of actually delivering what we're going to get in this film. Sometimes you see a trailer and you're like, I feel this was a completely different film. This is not that movie. This movie delivers exactly on the trailer, and it doesn't pull any punches. It lets you know that it knows what it is, and it celebrates that fact. This is, at best, just an enjoyable action flick. The writing in it is kind of choppy. It was one of my biggest complaints with the film, is that the dialogue feels like two people talking at each other instead of two people talking with each other. And that kind of bugged me. However, the writing itself doesn't distract from the story, and it definitely doesn't distract at all or take away from the action in the film and the reasons for the characters. This film celebrates every trope of action movies. You have the young, hard-headed, arrogant hero. You've got the seasoned veteran who sees this as a potential danger but then eventually comes around. It's just one action trope after another, and if you like action movies, like I like action movies, this is a great film for you to enjoy. Now, this is a fist and knuckles movie. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of punching, there's a lot of kicking, there's a lot of people dying from explosions and gunplay. There's not a lot of CGI. Like, you're not going to see a tsunami come in and give a downtown area a permanent bath, right? You're not going to see like all of these asteroids fall to the earth and just destroy the planet. That's not what this movie is, except at the very end. The very end felt like a weird departure from the entire movie I had just watched, because the whole film felt like something akin to like The Bourne Identity or James Bond, where again, fist and knuckles. We got a lot of punching, we got a lot of martial arts, and we got a lot of gunplay and knife fights. Now, the knife fight in this, I would say, is like in the talk for maybe the top 10, but it definitely doesn't beat the knife fights in the Under Siege film, because towards the end of the first Under Siege film, where you're on the boat and they've got the knife fights and they're just like going at it, that was a great knife fight scene. This movie, not so much. They do a lot of what we've talked about before in other reviews, where they kind of play with the camera angle so it looks like there's a lot of action happening. It's definitely not like Birth of the Dragon, where you have like that full panned back so you can see that these people know all of the martial arts that they're doing on screen. This is kind of uptight. This gets really in your face. It's very close. And then they'll pull back a couple of times to show like kicks and stuff like that. But overall, the action in it is really good. But again, the ending gets a little weird. Now, if you saw The Dark Knight Rises like many of us did, and at the end of the film, you're scratching your head going, did he just set a nuclear bomb off over Gotham? You're going to be scratching your head again in this film. Because at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, you have been warned. At the end of the movie, the writing team decided, and with the director's approval, to set off a nuclear bomb underwater. They set off a nuclear bomb underwater. Now, because of that, there's some big waves and there's some big CGI scenes at the very end of the movie. But again, the entire movie up to maybe that last 5 to 7 minutes is all fist and knuckles. And then we have like this weird, I don't know why they approved setting off a nuclear bomb. If I had to give a critique on, like, if someone put the script on my desk and said, what do you think we can do better? What's an area of opportunity that you see with this script? I would say you can't set a nuclear bomb off underwater. It doesn't make any sense. However, that's the route they went with it, so that's the end of the movie that we get. And it's just a little weird because, again, it's such a departure from all of the physical action and drama that we get throughout this whole thing. Michael Keaton is great in his role. You know, as the seasoned veteran, the torture scene that he goes through is pretty graphic, so you are going to want to wait for that, because once he does get captured, it gets pretty dark pretty quick for that time that he's on screen, finishing up the second act, going into the third act of the film. So be prepared for that. But otherwise, I had a great time with American Assassin. I walked out of the theater going, that was a lot of fun. I didn't expect to have that much fun. Again, the ending, huh? Why would we set off a nuclear bomb underwater? However, everything else up to that, though, is great. Personally, I feel like this movie is going to do gangbusters once you can rent it or stream it in the privacy of your own home. This is a great on-the-couch Saturday, Sunday afternoon flick where you can just throw it on, pop open whatever drink you prefer on the weekends, and then just go to town on this film, because it is a lot of fun, it's good action, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows what it is, it toes the line for seriousness, but it doesn't go overboard, And for that, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a high five. Single mothers already have a lot on their plate when it comes to raising the family by themselves and providing financially for their family on that single income. Now go ahead and add the city of Los Angeles. Now let's add turning 40. Now let's add an emotionally manipulative ex-husband. Now let's counter that with an emotionally supportive and loving mother. And to top it all off, we're gonna go ahead and throw in 3 young, charming gentlemen who are filmmakers from New York. Was Home Again the feel-good comedy that the trailers promised it would be? Or are we gonna need to divorce ourselves away from this film? Let's dive in and take a look in this movie review. So the overall film actually explores the life of Alice, played by Reese Witherspoon, and it explores life through her eyes. So throughout the film, we're kind of getting a picture of what she sees reality should be with the people that are in her life and how it's impacting her. She has 2 small children who are both excellent actors in this film. They really capture what it is to be a kid. I was watching it and I thought, wow, this is stuff my nieces and nephews would say. So kudos to the director and the casting director on finding those kids because they did a great job. Reese Witherspoon always does a great job. Candice Bergen is her mother. I was so happy to see Murphy Brown back. I was like, this is great. And she plays a wonderful role that is supportive, loving, and understanding. And it just really just kind of shows where Reese Witherspoon's character is and where she gets some of her charm. Because in this film, we see that she gets some of her charm from her mother, thanks to Candice Bergen's performance. Also, the 3 young gentlemen from New York who are filmmakers all play just these great separate identities or personalities, if you will, that really kind of add to everything that's going on in the story. And then you have the emotionally manipulative ex-husband who towards the end of the film even admits that he's aware that he has this issue in him and that this is something that he deals with. So the story overall was done really well. We get to explore kind of what turning 40 would be like for a single mother in LA who's, been in the movie and Hollywood scene her entire life. I would say my big critique of this film is it's very thin. We get an understanding of the characters, we get an understanding of what Reese Witherspoon's character is going through as a single mother in LA, but we don't really dig deep into anything. It's just kind of like we understand what's going on and then we're gonna kind of move forward with the plot. Now, when I saw this movie, I didn't realize that I saw this movie surrounded by a group of women who all related to this movie in some way, shape, or form, which actually, for me, made the film even better. Because I was sitting in the middle of a chorus of older women agreeing and talking and conversating to the movie while the movie was going on. And typically, I would be like, can we please not talk during the movie? However, in this film, hearing them talk and hearing them go with the, he would, I believe that, I can see why she'd do that, it made me go, oh, this was a really well-written piece that resonated with the viewership. Now, clearly, this movie was not necessarily written for a person like myself and a white male in his 30s, but I still found a lot of enjoyment in the film. And the fact that while I'm watching this, I have this chorus of women in surround sound just echoing back sentiments that I'm seeing on screen really elevated my enjoyment of the film because I felt like when they sat down and wrote this film, when the director wrote it, because she wrote and directed it. So because Haley Myers-Shire, the writer and director, did such a great job with this film and writing to women in a way that resonates with them as an audience, to literally elicit verbal responses from them, not just emotional, but emotional responses so strong that they feel that they need to agree with or understand verbally what's going on in the film around me as I'm watching it, I've got to give it both high fives. Now this movie, like I said, it is a little thin in its character development, but overall the story is a lot of fun. It reminded me of something like Music and Lyrics. It reminded me of a mix of like The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel with something similar to Crazy Stupid Love. Like those types of character films that are just fun to watch, where you understand what's going on. You don't necessarily really dig into the characters and their mental place and their psyche, if you will, but you understand the characters, where they're coming from, and you can relate to them on some level. And this film did a really good job with that. So again, because I saw it in a room full of women that really connected with the character and connected with the story, both as the single mother and Candice Bergen's character as the supporting mother of her daughter, who is a single mother raising 2 kids in LA, I've got to give it both high fives. So because of that, And because of how much I enjoyed the film, when I walked out of the theater going, wow, everybody in this movie did a great job. And I didn't realize how great of a job they did until the people surrounding me in the theater let me know that this is connecting with an audience. I've got to give it both high fives. So Home Again is in theaters now. Go check it out. High fives. All right, it's Monday morning, which means the box office numbers are in. So let's go ahead and dive into that, take a look at what you guys saw this weekend. Coming in at number 5, we have The Hitman's Bodyguard at $3,550,000. Coming in at number 4, we have Home Again at $5,334,160. Coming in at number 3, Mother at $7,500,000. Coming in at number 2, American Assassin at $14,800,000. And coming in at number 1, It at $60 million. All right, so I don't really think these numbers are all too surprising. I think this is kind of what everybody expected with the gigantic showing that It had last weekend. We can expect a 30 to 50% drop on average from week 1 to week 2 for new releases. So at $60 million, that's really not that surprising. That's around 50 to about 51% according to Box Office Mojo. So I think that's right in line. I don't think that's really surprising. As far as Hitman's Bodyguard goes, I'm still very happy that is in the top 5. Again, every week you hear me talk about it since it's been released. I think that movie is fantastic as far as just action comedies go. So if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you get out to the theaters and check that out. It doesn't require a lot of you. It's just a fun action flick that celebrates action movies. So definitely check that out. As far as Mother goes, it's polarizing. I didn't see it, but all of the chatter online is polarizing. People are either like, what did I just watch? Or they're like, this is the greatest thing ever. I've yet to find somebody in the middle of the road that's like, I totally get it. Like, usually people are either like, this was a piece of garbage. I don't know what is going on with Darren Aronofsky. He must have been high on drugs the entire time he made this film. Or they're like, this is the greatest thing ever, and it's just a great depiction of the female experience in life. And this is just a knockout of the park success for Darren Aronofsky. Like, it's one side or the other. People are even talking about how, like, you have to go home and Google what the movie was about because it's so confusing. Whereas the other side is like, this wasn't confusing at all. I totally get it. I don't know what's going on with this movie. I'm probably going to wait to see it because when the reactions are that opposite, it makes me go, well, I don't know. But there's theaters in town, like I said. I can go see it for like $5 before noon. So I may go check that out like in the morning. That way, if it is super weird, I got the rest of the day to process it. But if it's super good, that's great. Home Again, you just saw my review for that. Obviously, I recommend you guys go out and see that. It's just a lighthearted, fun film that explores what turning life at 40 would be like for a single mother in LA. So I enjoyed the film. I think it's worth viewing. If you can go before noon to get that matinee pricing, I definitely recommend that too. Save yourself some money there. American Assassin, you heard my review for that too. Yeah, I don't think there's anything really surprising about these numbers. I think this is pretty on par. As you're about to hear, we got a couple really nice movies coming out this weekend. So we might see it fall from number 1 to number 2, maybe number 3, depending on who actually gets out. But I think this weekend coming up is probably going to be one of the best weekends we've had for a couple weeks now, as far as what's available in theaters that we can go out and enjoy. Because it'll actually give us options. It won't be like, oh, well, I could go see that, or I could stay home and get caught up on Netflix. I think this coming weekend, as we're about to see, actually has a lot of potential. So let's check that out. Coming out in theaters this weekend, we have Kingsman: The Golden Circle, Stronger, Lego Ninjago Movie, and Battle of the Sexes. So again, this is pretty great. If you like horror films and you haven't seen it, you've got it. If you like action flicks, you have The Hitman's Bodyguard, and you have American Assassin. If you like those movies that are kind of more people-based and they explore like the human experience, you have Home Again. If you like the artsy, makes your mind think and just kind of gives you layers. From what I'm understanding, you've got Mother, and now we're going to have the Kingsman Golden Circle, which is going to be a great spy action flick from what I gather from the online chatter. And then you've got the biopic for based on a true story, Stronger. I haven't even seen a trailer for this yet. I had to look it up. I was like, what is this movie? And then you've also got for the family, Lego Ninjago movie. And then finally we have the biopic based on the famous tennis match with Battle of the Sexes, and all of the chatter online about that from all of the film festivals has been very positive. So we've got a lot of options this weekend, which is great. Now, the big question mark for me going through this weekend is going to be Lego Ninjago movie, because the Lego movie crushed it, knocked it out of the park. Just great film. Across the board, everybody loved it. Lego Batman had some mixed reviews. However, it's a Batman, so everybody goes and sees it. But they should have gone to see it because it was really fun. And if you're a Batman fan, like I'm a Batman fan, there's so much Batman in this. Like just callbacks, deep cut references about Batman and his history, his rogues, villains, his gallery of nonsensical villains, that it was just great. It was great. But it didn't receive the critical response and everything that the Lego movie did. So they're like, well, is it really a good movie? Like Lego movie was a good movie, or is it just a good movie because it's Batman? So now with Lego Ninjago, I don't know what a Ninjago is. I have no idea. I've seen it when I am walking through the toy section to get to the DVD section at Target. I see the Ninjago Legos, and they just look like ninjas. I don't know the mythos behind these characters. I don't know anything. But my big question is, how well received is Ninjago going to be? Because nobody knows this property. If it's well received, I think that bodes well for Lego in the long run to keep doing these cinematic releases, these theatrical releases. But if it doesn't, I don't know what that says about, branching away from the Lego movie title, or just popular characters like Batman or the Justice League, or even doing something with like the Avengers or something for Marvel. So we'll have to wait and see. But this weekend, we've got a lot of options if you want to get out to the theater. So I think that's great for all of us movie fans. All right, let's find out what's coming out on DVD and Blu-ray. All right, on DVD and Blu-ray this week, we have The Big Sick, The Hero, Wonder Woman. Two of these films I loved. The Big Sick is in my top 5 of the summer. I posted that. You can go back and check that, kind of like what my top 5 films of the summer were. I adored The Big Sick. I thought it was very well written. The characters in it were great. The story's great. It has a lot of heart, and it feels genuine. And like I said, it's like my big fat Greek wedding sort of. So I really enjoyed it. I encouraged people to get out to the theaters to see it, and I think a lot of people did, because it kept gaining speed as it went. It started off limited, and then it went to wide release because it was so well received by everybody. Just if you haven't seen it yet, now is a great time to watch this movie, because The Big Sick is such a fun, heartfelt piece that will make you feel a lot of things, both happy and sad. So definitely check out The Big Sick, and obviously Wonder Woman. My goodness. Definitely check out Wonder Woman if you still haven't seen it. I don't know what you're waiting for. But if you have seen it, now would be a great time to revisit that as well. I know I saw it a couple times in theaters. I cannot wait to buy this on Blu-ray and actually watch those special features. I'm looking forward to, and I'm hoping for, a director commentary, so I can kind of hear what Patty Jenkins was thinking and kind of what she was doing while she was telling the story of Wonder Woman, because the film is super good. So yeah, I can't wait. This is a good week for theater releases. This is a good week for DVD releases. All right, before we sign off, we've got the last segment of the day, which is Certified Rad. And this story, we're going back to Texas again, because in the news, Today.com posted this article. It was pretty inspiring. I just kind of stumbled across it while I was Googling news stories, and I was like, impressive. This is definitely certified rad. So I just want to share it with you here. Again, it's today.com. If you want the link for this article, show notes below. You can go ahead and click on that, check that out. But it takes place in Oak Lake, Texas, which is just southwest of Houston. So all of the damage that came through with Hurricane Harvey and the flooding, just southwest of that, this town also flooded. So what happened is there was a Pizza Hut manager by the name of Shada Willison, and she was kind of looking around and she realized that, you know, her neighbors in this flood area were stranded in their homes. You know, they haven't been able to really get out and do stuff. So she saw a need, and what did she do? She acted on it. She called her husband. She said, "Hey, honey, I need you to get our kayaks, you know, the little boats, get our kayaks, bring them down to the restaurant. We got work to do." How many pizzas did they deliver? I'm glad you asked. They delivered 120 pizzas, according to the news article. That is amazing. You just went out and helped all of these families with food who probably were just completely depressed because their homes are flooded. They can't really get out. They're stranded there. They're stuck. They're waiting for help. And then what happens? A fresh hot pie is delivered right to their door, and they get to see your smiling face. For that reason, you and your husband and your Pizza Hut are certified rad. So thank you so much for that. And I even appreciated the fact that Pizza Hut, the corporate Pizza Hut, recognized your efforts and then threw it out on their Twitter, giving you guys a shout out. I mean, that's incredible. You saw what needed to be done. You saw how you could help somebody. And then you put your feet to work. You strapped those boots on, and then you got to work and you helped out your fellow countrymen. I think it's great. Certified rad. And we do have one honorable mention as well coming up right now. So I actually got a text message from my brother because he was like, "Check this out." So I did. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So it's not really like a news story like, you know, what we just discussed as far as like people going out and helping each other. This is, you know, people who did go out and help people, the world, and then they came back and they survived as long as they have. So here's the story before you get confused. This past week, we had a pair of identical twins turn 99 years old, and they're World War II veterans. And they are Boyd and Ralph Henderson in Provo, Utah. So you got these two guys, identical twins. They survived World War II together, and they're now living with their families in Provo, Utah, and they just celebrated their 99th birthday together. Incredible. So that's definitely an honorable mention for Certified Rad. Now, there was obviously questions asked, you know, like, you know, what was it like? You know, how has it been growing up 99 years old, getting through World War II, being part of the greatest generation? You know, you got your kids, your grandkids, etc. And what's the secret to living to 99 years old? So when asked, you know, what is the secret? Ralph said there isn't one. He said, love your wife, love your family, love everybody, and the Lord will bless you and help you get along in life. To which his brother Boyd responded, there's nothing greater than America. There's nothing greater than my family, and I love each one of them. So there you go. You want to have a long life. You want to live to be 99, survive a war, a world war, and just kind of be able to relax with your family, love folks. And I'm assuming from what I have to glean from what his brother's statement was is be a patriot. You know, love your country. Love your country and love everybody else, and then just spend time with family. So to the 99-year-old World War II veterans who are identical twins, Ralph and Boyd Henderson, you guys are certified rad. Thank you for your service. You're part of the greatest generation, and happy birthday. All right, so that pretty much wraps up this episode of Brunansky's vlog. Thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed any portion of this show, please do give me the thumbs up, because the thumbs up actually helps people who like movies find the show so they can start contributing to the community as well. Speaking of contributing, I hope everybody who's watching has clicked subscribe. If you haven't, now would be a great time to do that. And then also make sure to leave your comments below if you had any thoughts about anything that popped off in the news that we discussed or we didn't discuss. And if you saw it and you want to give your review, the comment section is a great place to do that. Because the most important thing that's going to come out of this show isn't what I'm going to say, because I'm done talking. It's what you guys are going to say in the conversations that you carry on in the comment section below. So go ahead and sound off down there and get that whole thing going, and we can carry on until next Monday when we return with a brand new episode of Brunansky's vlog. Thanks everybody for watching again. Make sure you go ahead and click subscribe, and as always, have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.